The strange signals appeared on the Galactic Hegemony sensors without warning. For 3 full cycles, the best minds of the Empire studied the unusual electromagnetic waves coming from an unmapped sector of space. They had never seen anything quite like it. The signals were organized but primitive, suggesting a young civilization that might be ripe for integration into the Empire. Ambassador Xalfar stood on the command deck of the Imperial vessel Dominant, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as he watched the small blue planet grow larger on the main screen. His scales shimmered with anticipation under the ship's lights. After serving the Hegemony for 200 years, he had overseen the integration of 17 species. This would be his 18th and final mission before retirement. Primitive communications technology, rudimentary space vessels, limited defensive capabilities, reported the ship's tactical officer. They call their world Earth and themselves humans. They appear to be in the early stages of planetary unification, with multiple governing bodies. Xalfar nodded. Typical of pre-integration species, prepare the diplomatic approach. Standard protocol. In the cold emptiness near the orbit of Mars, Captain Ethan Miller was completing a routine patrol in the UES Defender. At 35, Miller was one of Earth's most experienced space officers, though that experience was limited to the solar system. Humanity had not yet ventured beyond their cosmic backyard. "Captain, we're picking up something big coming in from the outer system," said his sensor officer, her voice tense. "Multiple objects. They're not ours, sir." Miller leaned forward in his chair. "Show me." The screen displayed several large vessels moving with precision toward Earth. They were unlike anything humans had built, sleek, massive, and clearly designed for interstellar travel. "Send message to Earth Command. Possible first contact scenario. Standing by for instructions. And open a communication channel, all frequencies." Earth Command responded quickly, ordering Miller to make initial contact while they assembled an emergency response team. With sweaty palms but a steady voice, Miller broadcast humanity's first message to alien visitors. "This is Captain Ethan Miller of the United Earth Defense Force. You are approaching Earth territory. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." There was a long pause before the response came. The voice was oddly accented, but in perfect English. "This is Ambassador Xalfar of the Galactic Hegemony. We greet Earth and its people. We come to welcome you into the greater galactic community." Over the next few hours, Miller maintained communication as his small vessel escorted the alien ships to a position near Earth's moon. Additional defense ships arrived, forming a protective screen that the aliens surely recognized as ineffective against their technology, but respected as a gesture. Miller was instructed to participate in a video conference with the alien ambassador. The face that appeared on his screen was reptilian with 4 blinking eyes and greenish gold scales. "Captain Miller, the Hegemony has monitored your world's development with interest. Your species shows promise. We have come to offer Earth integration into our empire, access to our technology, our protection, and our markets." Miller kept his expression neutral despite the alarm bells ringing in his mind. "What exactly does integration involve, Ambassador?" "A simple process. Earth would become a protectorate of the Hegemony. We would establish administrative centers, guide your technological and social development, and gradually introduce you to galactic standards. Your resources would, of course, contribute to the greater good of the Empire. And if we prefer to develop independently." The ambassador's upper eyes blinked in what seemed like amusement. Few choose that path. Those who do eventually see reason when they understand the benefits of integration and the difficulties of isolation. Miller's jaw tightened. He had received new instructions from Earth Command moments before, agreed upon by an emergency session of world leaders. "Ambassador Xalfar, I have been authorized to deliver humanity's response. Stay away from Earth." The alien's 4 eyes blinked rapidly before he let out a sound that Miller recognized as laughter. "Captain, perhaps you misunderstand. The Hegemony spans thousands of worlds. We are not offering a choice, but extending a courtesy by announcing our intentions. Your species will be integrated. The only variable is how smooth the process will be." Miller leaned forward, his eyes hard. "No, Ambassador, you misunderstand. That wasn't a request. It was a warning." 3 days after the first contact, small alien ships began appearing in Earth's orbit. They were sleek and nearly invisible to most tracking systems, but Lieutenant Amanda Wells spotted them from her post at Lunar Station 1. Amanda had always had good eyes. That's what got her this job, watching the stars from the dark side of the moon. Now those good eyes were saving humanity's secrets from alien spies. "Command, we have at least 6 unidentified craft using some kind of light-bending technology. They're scanning major cities and military bases," she reported, her fingers flying across the control panel as she tracked the visitors. On Earth, Dr. Kevin Harrison felt uneasy as he entered his lab at the Advanced Defense Research Facility. Something seemed off. His notes on the new shield technology were slightly out of order. His computer showed logins at times when he had been asleep. Someone, or something, was very interested in his work. Kevin checked his experimental setup, hidden behind heavy steel doors. The prototype was still there, a small device that could theoretically create a force field strong enough to stop any known weapon. It was years from completion, but now he wondered if they had years at all. "I need to speed this up," he whispered to himself, locking the door and starting a new series of tests. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Galactic Council gathered in their grand hall. 50 alien species were represented, but the 7 founding races held the most power. Ambassador Xalthar stood before them, giving his report on Earth. "The humans are primitive but stubborn," he said. "Their technology is basic. They have only reached their own moon and sent simple probes to nearby planets. However, they show unusual aggression and independence for such a young species." Council Leader Vexor, a tall being with crystalline skin, leaned forward. "What resources does this planet offer?" "Water in abundance, diverse biological life, rich mineral deposits, and the humans themselves could be valuable. They adapt quickly and show remarkable physical endurance." Another council member spoke up. "And their military capabilities. Limited to their own planet and immediate space. Their weapons are primitive, nuclear at best. Nothing that could threaten a proper hegemony force." Vexor nodded slowly. "Then we proceed with standard integration protocol. Send assessment teams. Prepare a battle group. If they resist, we will show them the futility of defiance." Back on Earth, world leaders gathered in an emergency session of the United Nations. For the first time in human history, all countries put aside their differences in the face of a common threat. "The aliens have ignored our warning," said the Secretary General. "Their ships are in our orbit. They are studying us, preparing for something bigger." Admiral Susan Carter of the United Earth Defense Force stood to address the assembly. "We have tracked at least 20 alien vessels conducting surveillance. Based on their technology level compared to ours, a direct military confrontation would be challenging." "Are you saying we should surrender?" asked one world leader. "No," replied Susan firmly. "I'm saying we need to change the rules of engagement. We need to accelerate our special weapons programs, pool our resources, and prepare for asymmetric warfare." The room filled with murmurs as leaders considered her words. On the other side of the world, Major Daniel Williams led his Special Forces team through a night training exercise. They had been practicing new tactics designed specifically to fight enemies with superior technology. "Remember," he told his soldiers, "advanced doesn't mean invincible. Everything has a weakness. Our job is to find it." The soldiers nodded grimly. They had all seen the images of the alien ships, had all been briefed on what was likely coming. None of them showed fear. In his private laboratory, Kevin worked through the night, fueled by coffee and determination. His computer models showed progress. The shield was beginning to stabilize in simulations. If he had another month, maybe 2, he might have a working prototype. But in the darkness of space, the Hegemony battle group was already assembling. Enormous ships, built for war and conquest, moved into position. They had done this hundreds of times before, on hundreds of worlds. To them, Earth was just another name on a very long list. They had received humanity's warning. They had chosen to ignore it. Soon, they would discover if that was a mistake. The sky turned red over New York as the alien ships broke through the atmosphere. Similar scenes played out across the globe. London, Beijing, Cairo, Sydney, all watched as the massive vessels of the Galactic Hegemony descended through clouds, positioning themselves above major population centers. Admiral Susan Carter stood in the Global Defense Command Center, her face lit by the glow of emergency screens. Around her, military personnel from 24 nations worked together with practiced precision that would have seemed impossible just months ago. "They're making their move," she said calmly. "Exactly as we expected. Activate Defense Protocol Echo." Across the world, hidden weapons systems came online. Not the obvious military bases. Those were merely decoys now. The real defenses were concealed in mountains, underwater, and beneath ordinary-looking buildings. The largest Hegemony ship hovered over Washington, D.C. From its belly emerged a smaller craft that landed on the National Mall. Ambassador Xalthar stepped out, flanked by soldiers in gleaming armor. Their weapons were clearly visible, a show of force meant to intimidate. "People of Earth," his voice boomed through speakers, broadcast worldwide. "The Galactic Hegemony offers you one chance to surrender peacefully. Your integration into our empire will proceed with minimal disruption if you cooperate. Resistance will only bring suffering." The President of the United States stepped forward, alone and seemingly vulnerable. "Ambassador," she said, her voice equally amplified, "we delivered our answer 3 months ago. Nothing has changed." Xalthar's upper eyes blinked in what humans now recognized as amusement. "Your warning was noted and dismissed. You have no concept of the power you face. To demonstrate." He raised a hand, and one of the ships above New York fired a beam of energy that sliced through the empty top half of a skyscraper. The building had been evacuated days ago, but the display was meant to shock and terrify. Instead, it was the signal humanity had been waiting for. Major Daniel Williams and his Special Forces team were already in position near the Washington landing site. They looked nothing like soldiers now. Dressed as ordinary civilians, they blended perfectly with the evacuated city. "Green light," came the command through his earpiece. "Operation Surprise begins now." Across the globe, Earth's response was coordinated and unexpected. From hidden launchers, new missiles streaked toward the alien ships. They didn't carry nuclear warheads as the aliens might have expected. Instead, they carried something far more dangerous: Dr. Kevin Harrison's adapted technology. The missiles exploded against the alien shields, not to penetrate them, but to attach specialized devices that began to drain power from their systems. In the command center, Admiral Carter watched the first results come in. Shield drainers functioning at 60% efficiency, better than expected. Meanwhile, Major Williams and his team activated devices smaller than cell phones. The alien soldiers surrounding Xalthar suddenly clutched their heads, their communication systems overloaded by targeted frequencies discovered through study of their surveillance craft. The President stepped back as chaos erupted among the alien guards. From hidden compartments in the ground emerged armored U.S. soldiers carrying weapons that fired not bullets, but compressed electromagnetic pulses calibrated to the exact frequency of alien tech. Xalthar staggered backward, genuinely shocked. "This is impossible. Your weapons are primitive." "They were," the President replied. 3 months ago, above major cities, the huge alien ships began to list as their power systems faltered. Several smaller craft lost altitude control completely, though emergency systems prevented them from crashing into populated areas. In orbit, Captain Ethan Miller led a squadron of fighters that had been hidden on the far side of the moon. They weren't the primitive vessels the aliens had seen before. These were sleek hybrid craft, built with reverse-engineered technology from the surveillance ships humans had managed to capture. All squadrons, engage according to plan, Miller ordered. Remember, disable, don't destroy. We want their ships intact. The alien commander in orbit, unprepared for any real resistance, watched in disbelief as his sensors showed human fighters approaching with technology that shouldn't exist on such a primitive world. Back on Earth, Xalthar was now surrounded by human soldiers. How? He demanded. How did you advance so quickly? Major Williams stepped forward. You should have listened to our warning. In the Hegemony's long history, no species had ever repelled their first show of force. Until now. Until humans. 6 months passed since the first attack. The Hegemony had retreated to the edges of the solar system to regroup, but everyone on Earth knew they would return. This time, they would come with a full invasion force. Professor Richard Johnson wiped sweat from his forehead as he worked in his underground laboratory. Once a university physics department, it was now a key research facility 20 stories beneath Chicago. Around him, 50 of the world's brightest minds worked day and night on alien technology. Hand me that power coupling, he said to his assistant. I think I've figured out how their faster-than-light drives work. Richard had never imagined he would become a weapons developer. Before the aliens came, he had studied theoretical physics and taught students. Now he was racing to give humanity the tools it needed to survive. The lab door opened, and Admiral Carter walked in. She looked tired, with new lines on her face and gray hairs that hadn't been there 6 months ago. Please tell me you have good news, Professor, she said. Richard stood up straight. We've made breakthroughs in shield technology and weapons systems. But the real game changer is this. He pointed to a large engine in the center of the room. We can now build ships that can travel between stars. Above them, the world had changed dramatically. Cities damaged in the first attack were being rebuilt, not as they were before, but as hardened bunkers disguised as ordinary buildings. Every new structure contained hidden weapon systems and shelters. In orbit, new defense platforms floated silently, their designs based on captured alien technology, but modified with human innovations. Captain Miller, now General Miller, supervised their construction from a new space station. Test firing of Platform 12, said his lieutenant. Miller watched as the platform fired an energy beam more powerful than anything humans had built before. The beam hit a target drone, destroying it instantly. Power levels stable, reported the technician. Cooling systems functioning within parameters. Miller nodded. Good. Install them on all platforms. But Earth's leaders knew defenses alone wouldn't be enough. The Hegemony controlled thousands of worlds. They could send wave after wave of ships. Humanity needed another strategy. In a small town that didn't appear on any maps, Lisa Martinez led a very different kind of project. As a former intelligence agent, she understood the importance of information. They communicate differently than we do, she explained to her team. Their command structure is rigid. Orders flow from the top down with little room for individual initiative. Her team had captured an alien officer during the first battle. For months, they had studied him, learned his language, and mapped the Hegemony's command protocols. We've found their weakness, Lisa said, pointing to a diagram on the wall. Their entire battle network relies on central coordination. Disrupt that, and their forces will be paralyzed. Across the ocean, in the ruins of what was once Beijing, Major Williams trained new recruits in urban warfare. The mock battlefield was built to resemble alien ship interiors, based on the vessels they had captured. They expect us to fight conventionally, he told the soldiers. That's not how we'll win. We'll use every dirty trick, every unexpected tactic. When they zig, we zag. The recruits moved through the training course, learning to exploit weaknesses in alien armor and tactics that would confuse enemies used to fighting by strict rules of engagement. In orbit around Jupiter, the Hegemony invasion fleet assembled. Hundreds of warships, troop carriers, and support vessels gathered in the largest military force the Empire had deployed in 5 centuries. Fleet Commander Zorav, the Hegemony's most decorated military leader, studied the reports from the first failed attack. "They got lucky," he told his officers. "A primitive species cannot stand against the full might of the Hegemony. We will crush their resistance and teach them the price of defiance." His officers nodded in agreement. None of them had ever experienced defeat. None could imagine that a species so new to space travel could pose a real threat. Back on Earth, humanity prepared. They had no illusions about the coming battle. It would be devastating. Many would die. But they had spent every moment since the first attack getting ready. When the Hegemony returned, Earth would be waiting. And this time, humans wouldn't just fight to defend. They would fight to win. The Hegemony fleet arrived with the sunrise over Asia. Thousands of ships darkened the sky, far more than the first attack. They spread across the globe, covering every continent. This was not a show of force. It was full-scale invasion. Admiral Susan Carter stood in the Global Command Center, watching as red dots appeared on the world map. "All defense stations, activate. This is not a drill." The aliens expected Earth to be helpless. They were wrong. As their ships entered the atmosphere, hundreds of energy beams shot upward from hidden locations. Buildings that looked normal suddenly opened to reveal weapon systems. Fields that seemed empty became launch sites for advanced missiles. Fleet Commander Zorav watched in shock as his frontline ships began reporting damage. "How is this possible? Their weapons should be primitive." His second-in-command pointed to the screen. "Sir, they've adapted our technology. These are not the same defenses they had before." On the ground, alien dropships landed in major cities, deploying thousands of troops. They carried weapons that could level buildings and wore armor that should have made them nearly invincible. In New York, Major Williams led his special forces against the alien soldiers. His team didn't look impressive, just ordinary people in light body armor. But they moved with perfect coordination, using the city itself as a weapon. "Team 2, activate sonic disruptors," Williams ordered through his earpiece. Hidden devices placed throughout the city switched on, broadcasting frequencies that interfered with alien communication systems. The invaders suddenly found themselves unable to coordinate, their battle plans falling apart. In space, General Miller commanded Earth's orbital defenses. The new battle stations were vastly outnumbered, but they used hit-and-run tactics that confused the regimented alien fleet. "Focus fire on their command ships," Miller ordered. "Use pattern Delta to hide our real numbers." The human ships darted between larger alien vessels, firing precisely at weak points identified during months of study. Several Hegemony cruisers lost power and drifted helplessly. In her secure facility, Lisa Martinez activated the cyber weapon her team had developed. It targeted the Hegemony's battle network, inserting false commands and creating confusion throughout their fleet. "Signal penetration at 60%, reported her technician. "Their ships near Jupiter are receiving orders to retreat." Lisa nodded. "Keep pushing. We need to break their command structure completely." Admiral Carter received reports from around the world. The battle was fierce, with heavy losses on both sides. But for the first time in the Hegemony's long history of conquest, they were not winning easily. In some places, they were not winning at all. "It's time," she said. "Launch Project Prometheus." Deep beneath the ocean, massive doors opened on the seafloor. Water rushed aside as enormous vessels rose toward the surface. Earth's first true warships, built in secret using knowledge gained from the aliens themselves. General Ryan Cooper stood on the bridge of the lead ship, the EDS Liberty. Around him, a crew trained on alien technology-operated systems that humans had not only mastered but improved. "All ships, prepare for ascent," Cooper ordered. "Weapons hot, shields at maximum." The Liberty broke the ocean's surface, water cascading from its hull. It was followed by 5 more vessels of similar size. They rose into the air, then accelerated upward at speeds no human craft had achieved before. In orbit, Fleet Commander Zorav was trying to regain control of his scattered forces when new alerts sounded. 6 large vessels approaching from Earth, reported his sensor officer. Unknown configuration, but, sir, they're using our drive technology. On the Liberty's bridge, General Cooper received the battle updates. The enemy fleet is in disarray. Their command network is compromised. Target their flagship, Cooper ordered. Let's introduce ourselves properly. The Liberty accelerated toward the center of the alien fleet, its weapons charging. The other human ships spread out, each selecting key targets. For the first time in thousands of years, the Galactic Hegemony faced not just resistance, but the real possibility of defeat. These humans had not only survived the first attack, they had learned from it, adapted, and now were taking the fight to their would-be conquerors. As the Liberty approached the Hegemony flagship, Cooper opened a communication channel. "Attention Hegemony forces, we warned you to stay away from Earth. You should have listened." The battle for Earth lasted 3 days. When it ended, the skies cleared of alien ships. The Hegemony fleet was in full retreat, leaving behind damaged vessels and stranded troops. For the first time in the Empire's history, they had been forced to withdraw from a conquest. On the bridge of the Liberty, General Cooper watched the enemy ships flee toward the outer solar system. "Shall we pursue them, sir?" asked his second-in-command. Cooper nodded slowly. "Yes, but not just to drive them away. We're going beyond our system." The plan had been in place for months. Earth would not be content with defense alone. Humanity had learned too much from studying alien technology. They had seen maps of nearby stars, learned of other worlds under Hegemony control. If they stopped now, the Empire would simply rebuild and return with an even larger force. "All Prometheus ships, prepare for faster-than-light jump," Cooper ordered. "Our target is the Hegemony outpost at Proxima Centauri." In the Global Command Center, Admiral Carter briefed world leaders on the next phase of the war. "We've pushed them out of our system, but that's not enough. The Hegemony controls thousands of worlds. They'll be back unless we take the fight to them." The leaders looked concerned but determined. One asked, "Can our ships really travel between stars?" "Yes," Carter replied, "thanks to Professor Johnson's team. We've not only copied their technology but improved it. Our ships are faster and more efficient than theirs." She pointed to a star map showing systems near Earth. "We'll target their nearby outposts first, then push toward their core worlds. We need to make them understand that attacking Earth was the worst mistake they ever made." Captain Jack Wilson stood on the bridge of the EDS Defiance, one of the 6 Prometheus ships. His crew was nervous but ready. None of them had ever traveled beyond the solar system before. Today, they would make history. "All systems ready for jump," reported his navigator. "Coordinates locked on Proxima Centauri." Wilson took a deep breath. "Execute jump." Space seemed to bend around the ship. Stars streaked and blurred. Then suddenly, they were there, orbiting an alien world with 2 moons. Below them was a Hegemony colony, with sprawling cities and orbital platforms. The colony had no significant defenses. It had never needed them. No enemy had ever reached this far into Hegemony space. "They're sending confused communications," said the communications officer. "They don't understand who we are or how we got here." Wilson opened a channel. "Attention Hegemony colony. This is Captain Jack Wilson of the Earth Defense Ship Defiance. Your empire attacked our world. We defended ourselves. Now we've come to ensure you never threaten us again." The colony surrendered without a fight. They had no weapons that could challenge a Prometheus ship. Within hours, humans walked on an alien world for the first time, securing the Hegemony's regional command center and its valuable data. Dr. Olivia Martinez, a neurologist who had joined the mission, made a surprising discovery while studying captured aliens. "Their brains process information differently than ours," she explained to Wilson. "They think linearly, following patterns they've used for centuries. They struggle to adapt quickly to new situations." She connected an alien neural interface to a computer. "Watch this," she said, placing her hand on the device. The alien technology responded to her in ways it never had to its creators. "We can use their technology more creatively than they can," she explained. "Our brains are wired for innovation in ways theirs aren't." As the Defiant secured the colony, the other 5 Earth ships spread to nearby systems, each finding similar results. Hegemony worlds unprepared for attack, with defenses designed to control subject populations, not fight an outside enemy. On the Hegemony capital world, the Galactic Council received the shocking news. Not only had Earth repelled their invasion, but human ships were now appearing at Imperial outposts, moving faster than should have been possible for such a newly spacefaring species. "How can they be at Proxima Centauri already?" demanded Council Leader Vexor. "That's not possible." Ambassador Xalfar, who had barely escaped Earth with his life, spoke quietly. "I warned you. These humans are different. We should have listened when they told us to stay away." Within 6 months, human ships had captured 20 hegemony worlds. None could stand against the Prometheus fleet, which grew larger as Earth's shipyards produced more vessels using the alien technology they now understood better than its creators. Word spread through the galaxy. A new power had emerged, one that had defeated the undefeated hegemony. Many subject species watched with hope as humans pushed deeper into Imperial territory. On the hegemony capital world of Zentara Prime, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. The Grand Hall, usually a place of calm deliberation, now echoed with angry voices and accusations. "How could this happen?" demanded Councillor Draz, his tentacles writhing in agitation. "These humans were primitive just 1 year ago." Council Leader Vexor's crystalline skin had lost its luster from stress. "Our reports indicate they've already reached the Orion sector. At this rate, they could be at our doorstep within months." Ambassador Xalfar stood to address the council. Once a respected diplomat, he was now blamed for the disaster. "We must negotiate with them. I have studied humans closely. They don't want conquest for its own sake. They want security." "Negotiate with primitives?" Councillor Draz scoffed. "Absurd." But other voices in the council chamber supported Xalfar. The hegemony had never faced a threat like this. Their mighty fleets were being defeated. Their subject worlds were rising in rebellion, inspired by Earth's example. "Send the message," Vexor finally ordered. "Request peace talks." On Earth, Admiral Carter read the transmission with surprise. "They want to meet on neutral ground to discuss peace terms," she told the gathered world leaders. "This is unprecedented in their history." "Is it a trap?" asked one leader. "Possibly," she replied. "But our intelligence suggests they're genuinely afraid. We've done what no species has ever done, pushed them back and taken their worlds." After much debate, Earth's united government agreed to the meeting. But who would represent humanity in this historic moment? They needed someone who understood both diplomacy and history. Patricia Allen had been a history professor specializing in conflict resolution before the invasion. When her university was destroyed in the first attack, she joined the resistance. Now she found herself appointed as Earth's chief negotiator. "I never expected to make history," she told her assistant as they prepared for the mission. "Just to teach it." The meeting place was a space station orbiting a dead star, truly neutral territory that belonged to neither side. Earth ships arrived first, taking defensive positions. The hegemony delegation arrived next, led by Council Leader Vexor himself. In the station's main conference room, Patricia faced the alien leaders across a long table. Behind her stood military advisors including General Cooper and Captain Wilson. "We are prepared to discuss terms," Vexor began, his translator converting his words to English. "The hegemony is willing to recognize Earth as an independent system." Patricia smiled slightly. "That's generous, considering we've already taken 20 of your worlds." She placed a data pad on the table. "These are our terms. They're not negotiable." Vexor read the demands with widening eyes. "This is This would remake the entire galactic order. Yes, Patricia agreed. It would. Your empire was built on conquest and subjugation. That ends now. The terms were indeed revolutionary. Independence for all subject species who desired it, open borders for trade, shared technology, and a new council where all worlds would have equal representation. Why should we agree to this? Demanded Councillor Draz. You cannot have conquered enough worlds to force these terms. General Cooper stepped forward. Because you still don't understand what you're facing. Let me show you something. He activated a hologram showing Earth's history, thousands of years of warfare, technological advancement, and adaptation. It showed how humans had fought themselves more brutally than any alien ever had. This is what shaped us, Patricia explained. We spent millennia fighting each other, developing weapons, tactics, and the will to survive against all odds. When you threatened us, you united us. For the first time in our history, all humans fought together. She looked each alien in the eye. We don't want to conquer you. We want to ensure that no one ever threatens our home again. Zalthar, who had been quiet until now, addressed his fellow council members. I told you to stay away from Earth. Now you understand why. 5 years passed since the peace treaty was signed. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have imagined before humans entered the wider universe. The galactic hegemony was no more. In its place stood the interstellar cooperative, where all member worlds had equal voices. Former subject species now governed themselves, though many chose to maintain ties with their neighbors. Susan Carter, once Admiral of Earth's Defense Forces, now headed the Earth Diplomatic Corps. Her office overlooked the new Galactic Embassy in Geneva, where representatives from 50 alien species worked together. The Raxus delegation has arrived, her assistant informed her. They're requesting membership in the cooperative. Susan nodded. Earth will sponsor their application. It was a common request these days. Species that had once feared the hegemony now sought Earth's protection and guidance. In orbit around Earth, a massive space station served as the headquarters for the new cooperative defense fleet. Its ships were crewed by humans and aliens working side by side. General Ethan Miller, who had delivered humanity's first warning so many years ago, commanded this diverse force. Miller walked the station's main promenade, watching humans and aliens talking, trading, and living together peacefully. It still amazed him how quickly the galaxy had accepted the new order. General, the patrol ships report all sectors clear, said his alien second-in-command, a tall being from a world that had been one of the first to ally with Earth. Thank you, Commander, Miller replied. Keep the outer patrols alert. Some former hegemony hardliners are still causing trouble in the rim sectors. Earth itself had been transformed. Cities damaged in the invasion had been rebuilt with new technologies. Flying vehicles moved between gleaming towers. In homes and businesses, devices that would have seemed magical just years ago were now commonplace. Professor Richard Johnson, whose work had helped humans adapt alien technology, now led the Interspecies Research Institute. Scientists from dozens of worlds worked together, combining their unique perspectives to create innovations none could have developed alone. The new medical scanner is ready for testing, a young alien researcher told him, her 6 eyes blinking with excitement. It combines human intuitive design with Zentaran energy manipulation. Richard smiled. Excellent. This could save millions of lives across the cooperative. In a school in what was once Beijing, children learned about the stars not as distant points of light, but as places they might one day visit. Their teacher, once Major Daniel Williams, now educated the next generation about the wider universe. Who can tell me which species has 3 hearts? He asked his class of human and alien children. A small blue-skinned child raised her hand. The Proteans do. My neighbor is Protean, and she let me listen to her heart's beating. Daniel nodded. Very good, and who knows which planet has rings you can see from its surface? Lisa Martinez had returned to her hometown after years working in alien communication systems. She now lived a quiet life, though her work had revolutionized how species across the galaxy talk to each other. Walking through the park, she passed humans and visitors from other worlds enjoying the sunshine together. 5 years ago, these aliens would have been invaders. Now they were tourists, students, and diplomats. On the former Hegemony capital world, Salfar, once an ambassador and now a respected advisor, met with the Cooperative Council. Vexor and other former Hegemony leaders now shared power with representatives from Earth and formerly subjugated worlds. The humans continue to surprise us, Zalfar told the Council. They could have conquered us all. Instead, they forced us to become better. At the edge of the solar system, a massive monument orbited Pluto. It was visible to any ship entering human space, with words written in both Earth languages and the common galactic script. Humans gave the Galactic Empire one warning: stay away from Earth. Now we welcome all who come in peace and promise justice to those who come for war. The choice is yours. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humans were not to be underestimated. They were dangerous when threatened, but also capable of incredible generosity and creativity. They had transformed a stagnant empire into a thriving cooperative, not through conquest, but through the simple insistence that everyone deserved freedom and respect. All because someone should have listened to one simple warning.